Hi, Celia. Thank you so much for joining us in the No Formula podcast today.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
I'm so excited too. And for everyone listening, Celia is from Australia. So
I am.
It's really early in the morning for you. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no worries at all.
I really just want to kick off this interview and let everybody know about some of your experience. Okay. So I have a list here of all the things that you've, have a little bit of experience with. And I'm sure I do not have everything on this list. This is just the things that I thought of. Okay.
Sure.
So launching businesses, eyelash business, monthly subscription box, dropshipping, dealing with inventory, customer service, building websites, influencer marketing, social media advertising, developing an app, Shopify, content creation, and now coaching.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it all up, doesn't it?
That summarizes the last 10 years of your life.
Yeah, literally. Probably the last 8 years of my life. That's basically it summed up.
Which is crazy. So
crazy.
You started about 6 businesses that I really want to get into and the lessons you've learned along the way, because I think by going through that, you can help us all on how to start businesses and how not to be afraid to start businesses.
Yeah.
So let's start with your very first business, which was eyelash extensions.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that started and how that kind of kicked off your entrepreneurial spirit?
Sure. So I think the lash business sort of opened my eyes to filling gaps and like seeing gaps in my home market. So this was back when I was 20 and I used to get my eyelashes done, and the places that I was going to were quite expensive, and a lot of my friends were still at uni and couldn't afford the prices that I was paying, but they still wanted lashes. And I thought, well, maybe if I did a course and then could just do my friends and family. Like I saw it pretty small, like I saw the gap being very small, being like just friends and family, just some like side money. And yeah, the gap was huge. So lashes weren't a big thing in my hometown at this stage. They were still relatively new. There was only a couple of like ladies at home that did it, and they weren't taking on new clients because they did it around work. So yeah, Mum actually bought me the course for my 21st birthday. I went down to Melbourne. So I live in like a regional town about an hour and a half out of Melbourne, and yeah, did the course. And then once I've got 3 younger sisters, so I did it on them. And then yeah, once I was confident, told my friends. And then I will never forget like sitting at home, and I'd done 2 of my girlfriends on like a Saturday morning, and they had events Saturday night, and on the Sunday afternoon sitting at home, and I got like 4 messages from random numbers being like, hey, can I book in? And I was like, what? Like it just like, I remember sitting there being like, who are these people that are messaging me, and like, what am I going to say to them for like these 2-hour appointments? Like, but yeah, it literally took off from there, and it just boomed. Like it just went like to the point where I think I started in August, and by December, like for that lead up to Christmas, I would have a client at 8 a.m. and I would have a client at 8 p.m. and it was just back to back the entire day.
And I just want to put into perspective on how profitable this was for our audience. Yeah. Can you tell us about like kind of like the process and maybe how much you charged your clients?
Yeah. 100%. So back then I was charging $80 for a full set, and it was taking me, by this stage, it was probably taking me around 1:45 to do. Now when I do them, it takes me about an hour, most likely. Yeah, it doesn't really go over an hour anymore, but I charge more now. But yeah, back then I was 21 making $80 in like an hour and a half. And
which is crazy.
Like I remember like literally one of the like, and I wasn't doing it full time because I was still working. Like I was casual, and I was at this job where I was earning like $20 an hour, which I left very quickly because I was like, why would I spend my time there? But yeah, I remember that week before Christmas in the first year, I'm pretty sure we made over like $2,000, and I was like, what? Like it was great. So there was my summer money. Like it was great. It was really, really good. And then ever since, I've just been doing it. I've gone through phases with that business where I've done it full time and then part time, and then just around whenever it suits me now, which is good.
Oh, that's good. Well, you also have so many other things going on, right? So we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Exactly.
So from this experience, I feel like you had kind of like a first mover's advantage where not many other people were doing it. And so when you started, it kind of really, really took off. And then you kind of had to manage around like, suddenly a lot of new customers and you saw the gap before everyone else did.
Yeah, 100%.
Then I saw in one of your YouTube videos that then there's like huge competitors that came in.
Oh my God, yeah.
So how did that shift everything?
So the timeline of my lash business is when I first started, I was working casually, and then I quit the casual job just to do lashes. So I could work less hours, earn more money. That's basically how I saw it. And then the lash boom in my hometown happened, and literally it was like every third girl started their own lash business. And at the start, this is probably the biggest lesson that I think I learned from the lash business, is to not worry about copycats, like stay in your lane, because it can be very easy to get so angry and so annoyed and frustrated, especially when they're copying everything. So like they weren't just coming out with a lash business, they were copying my social media marketing, not social media marketing, they were copying, like I started doing giveaways and stuff online, like social media, like giving away a free set of lashes or that type of thing, and people just started to copy that. Like no one was doing that. I saw businesses in Melbourne doing it, no one in Ballarat was doing it, so then I did it. And I still remember some of my male friends messaging me being like, what have you done? Like everyone on Instagram's posting about your lash business, because it was like a share thing. They had to share it to like their Instagram page, like actually upload it. So yeah, I think the competitor thing, so yeah, that happened. So everyone started doing it. And that was when I was kind of like really interested in property. So I wanted to actually have like more reliable income. And I actually got my full-time job. So then I just started doing lashes after hours for my full-time job, which the after hours appointments were most popular anyway. Like most people would finish work and then want a lash appointment. So it kind of worked while I was just doing long hours, but I just became very used to that very quickly.
Yeah. So then, okay, all this competition comes up, then you go back and get kind of like your 9-to-5 job again. And you start doing lashes after work on the weekends, and you're still doing the lashes.
Yeah, still doing them now. In 2020.
Oh my gosh.
And like I think we'll get to it too, like the social media marketing side of things. Like when I first started, I was just posting on social media. You didn't have to like pay to play back then. Like it was so unsaturated when it came to like posting and getting engagement. Like I literally I took all of my bookings manually in like a diary, and on a Sunday night I would upload all of my appointments to like on my Facebook groups and pages. And I would have to sit down with my laptop, pen, paper, my phone fully charged, and they would go within like 10 minutes. All of my appointments for the week would go. Like it was crazy, absolutely crazy, but like amazing, absolutely amazing.
It's not the same now.
No, God, no. If I like, and you can see it, like that's why I'm building the apps type of thing, because when you post in your groups, only like I see, and you can see the stats on like how many people view it. Like it's only like a third of people max will ever actually see your content that you're posting in groups that you've started. So crazy.
We'll get to the apps after. That's we
definitely
have like 10 businesses to go through before we get there.
Sure.
Okay, so you have the eyelash business. And then you have an idea for the subscription box. Can you tell us kind of like, because I'm not really sure, because you never stopped the eyelashes. So I don't know when you started the subscription box.
So in between though, I had, and I think this is something really important to mention too, I had debt. So I had like $10,000 worth of debt from a car loan and a trip to America. Me and one of my good friends traveled across America for like 2 months. But I had all these business ideas that I was like, I really want to like launch into them, but I was like, I don't want to go into debt for them. And I didn't want to start anything when I had all this debt. So I'm a big lover of Excel spreadsheets. So I literally, did a budget, and that's one of the videos that's done really well on my YouTube too, is like helping people. I've had people like from all across the world message me being like, hey, I just did a budget based off yours, and like, I'm going to get rid of my debt. Anyway, so I had all this debt and I got rid of it. And then I was like, perfect. Now let's start these businesses that you've been thinking about. And so it was a period parcel subscription box. So I just had the idea that wouldn't it be great every time you get your period, this box arrives and it's got like all of your feminine items that you need, but like chocolates, pain relief. And then we engage with like small like Etsy sellers and stuff that did like self-care things. So we had like face masks, nail polish. What else do we have? Different like boutique chocolates, chai teas, like all this like real luxy sort of stuff in a parcel. And that's kind of where that started. And that business taught me a lot. Like a lot.
Okay,
I think
let's get into it.
I think one of the biggest things that business taught me was about profit margins and how important it is to factor in your time when it comes to like packing, dispatching, like doing all the customer service stuff. So I think that business ran for about 2 years or maybe 18 months. And what had actually happened in the last 6 months, it was the lead up to Christmas. And I had all of this stock, and we were kind of at a crossroad where I was sort of like, I'm not really into this anymore, but like I've got all of this stock. And I actually had one of my guy friends reach out and was like, hey, I want a parcel for my girlfriend, but I don't want it to be like period related. Like I just want some, like, it's like for a birthday or something at work, like something had happened and he wanted to get her a parcel. So I made him up one and took photos of it and was like, wait, maybe I should use that as like Christmas was coming up. Let's move all of our stock, do that. And yeah. So the business basically closed because we reduced majority of our stock by doing Christmas parcels. So basically people could buy, and they were massive. Like we had like 3 different tiers of them. But yeah, so that's kind of how that business closed. But the biggest thing that I learned from that was profit margins, and the profit margins off the Christmas parcels was significantly more than like the period parcels. Like, and I'm happy to talk figures. Like I think the profit from like the period parcels was like $5 a box in the end. And I don't know if you've seen from the video, but like the major issue we had was shipping. So the last thing that I thought of when it came to like the shipping was, when it came to that business and launching, was, okay, the shipping parcels. And in my head, I'd gone onto like the AusPost website, found the boxes or the shipping label stuff that I would need. And then when it came to actually doing a test one, it was like double the price. So it had like completely shifted our profit margins. But the Christmas parcels were good because they were just for local, like my local area. So people would come in and pick them up. So we didn't have to worry about shipping.
Did you ever think of increasing the prices of the box to increase your profit margins?
Definitely. It definitely did. But I think back then, like I'd already spent so much money on like I had no idea Shopify even existed back then. So I got this like company in Melbourne to like build it. And it was like honestly the biggest nightmare. And I think because I had other ideas in the back of my mind that I was kind of like, do I really want to invest more time and money into this? And like I've reached out to a really big company in Australia for them to like stock the parcels and spend all this time on it. It didn't go ahead, but that was like a big learning curve of like, it just sort of opened up a whole new world, being like, there's so many different options that I can do. And then, yeah, I kind of had been dabbling in like, well, learning whilst at my full-time job at my desk, learning about like online money. And that's where the dropshipping came in. And that's sort of where I shifted to. But yeah, I definitely considered upping the prices. But then I think by that point I was kind of like, I'm over it. Like I'm sick of this.
Yeah. I love though that you just get an idea. You plunge, you like a little.
Yeah, fully plunge. Yeah, fully, deep dive in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You figure it out. You figure everything out because you don't start these projects knowing how to like deal with partners or how to price things or anything. You're just 100%. Like, I'm just going to figure it out.
Just give it a go. Yeah, literally. Like that's it. And I think that's the biggest part of this business coaching thing that I've started doing too, is it like meeting people that do the same thing, or like they want to process, they want to know like, how did I get there, or what did I, and I'm like, you just have to try, like you will learn. Like you might learn what not to do, but then you'll never do that again type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into all those other businesses.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, go.
Because you mentioned drop shipping, your business coaching. We'll get to that, okay?
Yeah.
But, okay, what I also want to ask you is, a lot of entrepreneurs start projects and they get really, really, I guess, attached to them. And then they think that if they stop working on this business, that they failed. Right?
Yeah.
But as I keep talking to you, like you don't have that at all. You're just like, no, I closed that one and then I started another one and then another one. So I just want to know your advice to entrepreneurs if they're struggling with a business that they have right now, to kind of like let go and then try something else. Do you have any advice for them? Yeah,
I don't know. I think it came from the lash business where I don't know, am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, you can.
Because I literally just didn't give a fuck. Like I just didn't care what anyone else thought. And I think when I launched the lash business, I was really nervous. Like I was so nervous to be posting on social media that I had this like business. And then I got to a point where I was like, no one really cares. And the people that do care really don't matter. Like what's the worst they're going to do? Send screenshots to their friends and like bitch about it behind my back. Like it didn't affect me at all. And I think once you block that out, and I didn't do like a big announcement that the My Monthly business was closing. I just closed it. And when people would ask, I'd be like, oh no, I closed that a few months ago. This is what I'm working on now. Like it was never a big thing. It kind of just sort of phased out. And I was like, well, I'm done with that. That's closed up. Now we can focus on other things. Like I just never cared what anyone else's opinions were. And it's not even like the negative opinions. Like some people were like, oh, it's such a great idea. And I was like, yeah, but you weren't buying a parcel, so it didn't affect you, like the closing type of thing. Like people want to hype you up, but I think you have to figure out what you really want to do and like, yeah, where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. And I mean, had I have stuck with that business, like if I started that business now, I'd start it completely different and I reckon we could kill it with it. But yeah, I wouldn't go back to
that. Because you just probably weren't passionate about it and you got bored.
No.
And you moved on.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
For everyone listening, if they want to start a business or a new business, first of all, your first two pieces of advice is not to care about what anyone thinks. Yeah. And then just focus on what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to drop shipping.
Sure.
Okay. So after My Monthly, which is the subscription box for periods, then how did you get into the idea to start drop shipping? Like where were you at your life where this happened?
So I was still working full time. I was in now a team leader position in my job, my full-time job. And I started to learn about like online money. Like I read Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week and I was like, and I knew from even before I started Lashes, I knew sitting at a desk every day was not going to be my life. Like I knew I don't know where it's come from, but like my dad's a bricklayer. My sisters have had businesses like after mine, but I'm like, I just knew going to a desk every day and sitting and staring at a screen wasn't going to be what my life was going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I think once I read Tim Ferriss's book, I was kind of like, okay, like online money, like passive income, learning all about that. And I actually brought a course in Amazon FBA, so Amazon Fulfillment by Amazon, like that type of thing, and was very close. Like had picked out the item, had basically everything ready to go, and then I pulled the pin and was like, you know what, drop shipping. Like you hear a lot of the people that do Amazon FBA talk about drop shipping as like starting there, then moving into Amazon FBA. Mm-hmm. And then once I heard about drop shipping, I was like, that can't be real. Like that doesn't happen. That's not a thing. And then once you realize it, I was like, oh my God, like I've bought from so many of these drop shipping businesses before. And so, yeah, I started a website and it's kind of weird how it happened because I decided to do drop shipping and I'd figured out sort of like a niche of like women's accessories, like sunglasses and jewelry, like that type of thing. But then I actually went to Bali for a holiday. So usually when I get like a business idea, obviously I've got my full-time job and if that spikes in workload, then I'm like, I don't have time to focus on my stuff. So I would use my annual leave, go to Bali because I love Bali. I've been there multiple times and I would spend my holiday just focusing on like my business. Mm-hmm. So I went to Bali to focus on like getting the website up and running. And then while I was in Bali, I came across these like rattan bags, like they were really like trendy. I probably was on the end of the trend back in Australia because it was coming out of summer. But I thought I'd posted on like my Instagram story, on my personal Instagram story being like, hey, who likes this bag or something like that. And I had like a yes, no type of thing. Would you buy it? So then I imported 100 bags back and I put that on my dropshipping website. So it was like a physical item, but I also had like dropshipping items that could be like upsold with like the physical bags. Mm-hmm. So yeah, dropshipping was really good because it taught me a lot about like one, dealing with Chinese suppliers.
So wait, before you continue, can you just explain what dropshipping is for those who might not understand? Yeah. Yeah.
So dropshipping is basically you have a website and you link it to products that are owned by Chinese suppliers based off AliExpress. So if you've ever used AliExpress before, all of the stock that is on those websites from those suppliers, you can link to your website. And say if someone comes to my website and buys one of those items with the click of one button, me as the owner of the website orders it from the Chinese supplier. So you don't have to worry about shipping. They do all the shipping and fulfillment and dispatch for you, which is crazy. Like when I explain this to people that have no idea about like online money, they're like, that's not real. Like that's not a thing, but like it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where you learn Shopify and like,
yes.
So you were saying dealing with the Chinese suppliers.
Yeah. 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 So Alibaba, there's Alibaba and AliExpress. Alibaba is sort of where you do wholesale and stuff, but AliExpress was good because it sort of had my foot in the door of figuring out how do you do this? Like AliExpress, what I would do before I put something on my actual dropshipping website is I would order it for myself. So I had one, I wanted to see the quality of it, because a lot of dropshipping stores can sort of go to shit if like you have really crap quality products and then someone asks for a refund. And if you're refunding it, then it's kind of like you're losing all the money of profit you would have made.
Mm-hmm.
So I would order it in and test the product. I then also had the product to do photos and stuff with of my own, that type of thing. But yeah, it was sort of an eye opener to the fact that like you can have such a direct contact to China and like these Chinese suppliers, and even getting stuff customized. Like I never got anything customized, but like you so easily could.
Crazy. And then
absolutely crazy.
So this business is not still going.
Nah, I closed this. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had the next business. So I had these two similar, they actually started very similar timing. Like I had the balloon event decorating business, and then I wanted online, and I thought I could probably do both. And then for the drop shipping to really scale, I worked with a lot of influencers, and I saw like decent profit that I could keep going with it. But if I really wanted to go hard, I would have to invest a lot more into it getting scaled higher. And I really wasn't that into like the female like jewelry niche or accessory niche type of thing. So I was like, you know what, that can stop again. And I'm just going to focus on this other one. Because it was just like, I just saw so much more potential for this other one very early on.
So what was your biggest lesson from the drop shipping?
Biggest lesson, I guess, what did I learn from that? I mean, Shopify has probably been like the biggest thing that I've learned. And I could basically get a website up and running ready for sales within like 4 hours. If I really needed to, if I had something sitting here that I was like, I could make a shit ton of money on that, I could literally start a website that quickly if I needed to.
Wow, that's crazy.
It'd be basic as, but it would work and you could have sales coming in.
So yeah, with your drop shipping or any one of your businesses, did you ever start the sales through ads alone, like social media ads?
No. So I think I started with like, I created an Instagram page. I had like all the social media stuff. And then I think I knew that I needed to sort of like get some, what did I do? I might have done, I reckon I did Facebook ads. Like this is where I learned, this is a good point. This is where I learned more about the social media side of things. So I had learned some of that with my monthly business, doing social media ads, but doing social media ads compared to my lash business, because being in my own hometown, all I have to target is the hometown and specific interests of people in my hometown. When I moved to my monthly business, that was Australia wide, and like narrowing down exactly who my target market was, I'd wasted a lot of money. And then I moved to the drop shipping and I learned more about how to target down and like that type of thing. And yeah, that was probably the biggest learning curve was with the drop shipping, was the social media marketing side of things.
Interesting.
Definitely.
And that's for sure have helped you with your other businesses after.
Yeah. The balloon business. The social media side of things, it's eye-opening the amount of information that we give Facebook to then be targeted by stuff, really. Actually crazy.
Okay, well, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Like the balloon business or the marketing stuff?
The marketing stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I learned all of my social media stuff, marketing stuff, free from YouTube. And it's not, I didn't follow one person, because usually a lot of the guys, and this is the thing, they're predominantly males that I learned social media marketing stuff online from YouTube. And you sort of learn enough, and then you get to a point where they're trying to hound you with like you buying their course or something. So like, I didn't want to do that. I just learned from all different ones, all different little tips and tricks of like how to target, how to also like track your results, so you can figure out, is it actually working? Is it converting for you? Like, what are your profit margins? Is it actually like a good ad? That was, social media is like, it's insane, like actually insane.
So I think the third tip on starting your business is we can confirm that it's like just learning as you go. And you 100%. Just mentioned so many resources, like you got everything from YouTube. That's where you learned how to do everything.
Yeah. And so the biggest thing for me, and this happened with my monthly business, is I was sitting at my full-time job, had access to internet, computer. I was sitting there for 8 hours. And I used to have like music blaring. Like I could sit there with my headphones and do my job. I wasn't on calls or anything. And I remember reading Tim Ferriss's book or another entrepreneurial book, and it was something clicked where I was like, why am I wasting my time listening to this when I could actually be listening to YouTube videos of these people learning, and like actually from my 8-hour job be learning stuff that's relevant to my life, because I'm going to leave this job at some point. Like, it literally, like, that was probably a massive shift for me at my full-time job, being like, there are so many of us sitting here hating our job, yet why would I waste any more time listening to crap that doesn't really like help me when I could be listening to like actually interesting like podcasts and YouTube videos and be able to watch it on my screen. Like, I had my office perfectly positioned, so like no one was behind me and could see what I was watching. So I had YouTube up all the time, all the time.
So you were learning on the job. It was like
learning on
consistent.
The job. Yeah.
As you were working.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's time to dive into the fourth business.
Yeah. So the balloon business, again, I saw a gap in the market. I had this picture, it was my cousin's birthday, and I went to this like local retail shop, and I had this idea of this big like confetti balloon that I wanted to get made up because I'd seen them done in Melbourne. And I went in there and I had to they'd done them before, but they hadn't done them on the scale and like the color schemes and stuff that I wanted. And as I'm walking out with this massive, like 90-centimeter balloon, everyone that I'm walking past in the store is like staring at it, being like, that's the coolest thing. Like, if kids are pointing at it, like people are like, that's really cool, we should get one of those, or like stopping me and asking about it. And as I'm literally walking out, I can feel my brain doing it, being like, business ideas coming, like it's brewing, like it's happening. So I started planning, and this is where the Chinese supplier thing came in, because my first like order that I placed for balloon stuff, I ordered from China. And to be honest, all of the balloons are pretty crap. So I ended up finding an Australian wholesaler that I order from now, and it's 10 times better. The stock's amazing. It all comes from like America, and it's like the balloons we use are 100% biodegradable. But when I first started, I literally thought we would do helium bunches. And very quickly, when I started researching more, so what I would do was, once I have an idea, I started an Excel spreadsheet. I put in all the products I would probably need and like what they're going to cost and what I would sell them for, so I could actually figure out, is it going to be a profitable business? Or like, is this something I'm going to start? It's going to be like my monthly and I'll be making $2 off a balloon type of thing. That's literally what I was thinking. But I knew that what we could do could be very profitable. And then once I started researching more, like a lot of social media, not influencers, but like wags and stuff from down in Melbourne would have these massive like baby showers or birthday events, and they would have these massive balloon installs. And I was like, no one in my hometown's doing that. So we sort of started, I thought, we'll do that. And the weirdest thing happened though, like I started an Instagram page, like I figured out the name, which is Bespoke Balloons Ballarat. And I posted one photo on our Instagram page, which was like a big balloon that said coming now on it. So like, just to let people know we're in Ballarat, like if they came across the page, if they searched like balloons Ballarat, they would potentially find us. And I had this styling company from Melbourne reach out, being like, literally had no photos. I remember getting the DM and I was sitting at work and I was like, why are there's nothing here? Like there's nothing on this feed, like other than this photo that I've stolen from Google. And they were like, hi, like we're a styling company from Melbourne. And they had like heaps of followers. Like it was like a well-known, and it wasn't just like they'd bought followers. They got a lot of engagement on their posts and stuff. And yeah, they were a styling company from Melbourne coming to Daylesford, which is sort of like a town, maybe 45 minutes outside of my hometown, to this phenomenal like wedding venue. And they had, they wanted this massive big balloon install. And at the start, I was kind of like, this could be like an incredible opportunity for us to launch. Be like, hey, to my hometown, like we're new, this is what we do. And we've got photos of like a styled shoot that like look amazing. But then I was kind of like, wait, you've actually never done this before? Like I've never made any of these like massive balloon structures that they wanted. But long story short, we didn't go ahead with it because they were like, it was so poorly organized. Like, I don't know how much of this you want me to go into, but like just quickly, they said the venue was like incredible. Like they had this beautiful little chapel thing that overlooked this lake, and it was all white inside, like timber painted. It was like pristine white, perfect. And I am the type of person, and I've definitely learned along the way with this balloon business, is that every venue's different. So like one way of like setting up will never be the same for the next. Like what you're working with, are you working with a wall that's got nails already in there? Can you use nails, adhesives, like all that sort of stuff? So I messaged the styling company and I was like, just wanting to confirm, like, can we use adhesives and nails and hooks and stuff on the wall to like put the garland up and like have it sitting in the way that they wanted it? And they were fully like, yep, go for it. Like you can do whatever you want. We've got approval. Like you can do it. And it just, something inside me was just like, that just doesn't seem right. Like that really seems off. And I think I queried it again and they gave me like the event coordinator's number for the venue. And I gave her a call and like, it was like, hey, it's Celia from Bespoke Balloons. Like business hasn't launched yet, but like, here we are.
But here I am calling you.
Here I am with my professional name. And she was lovely. And I just said to her, like, look, we're from Ballarat. This company's gotten in contact with us. Look, I just wanted to make sure, just so everything goes really smoothly on site and on the day, because you had like specific bump in times of when we were supposed to doing it. And this was probably maybe like 6 weeks out from the actual event. But I'm like a planner. Like I like to have everything, every base covered of like worst possible scenario. Mm-hmm. Think about that. So then if it happens, then I've got it covered. Anyway, I was like to her, we sort of chatted for a while. She was really chatty, really friendly, really interested in our business too. And she was like, I said, look, the company said that I think I might have sent her through a text message with a photo that they'd sent me so I could like fully gauge that she knew what I was talking about. And I said, this is where they're wanting the big balloon structure. I just want to confirm, they've said that we can use nails and adhesive on that wall. Can we? And she sort of gasped and was like, Celia, in the nicest way possible, not one single thing can touch that wall. Like there is to be no nail. Like she's like, she was almost like beside herself that like the fact that we could have gone in there with nails. And I was just thinking that once she said it, I was like, had none of the venue staff been on site that day and we're going all guns blazing with nails and hammers and hooks and stuff on that wall, like it could have been an absolute disaster. And once she said that, she was like, I'm so appreciative that you've called. Like she had not the greatest interaction with the styling company too, like was left out of a lot and like not really filled in with things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, once she was like, look, I really appreciate you calling, send me through any pamphlets you've got once you actually get started, because I told her we hadn't started yet, like we were relatively new. So she was really appreciative of that. And then after that happened, I just went back to the styling company and was like, nah, like we're out. Like I could not believe that like this venue that they would pay like literally tens of thousands of dollars for a wedding, they would say that you could do like these nails and stuff on this wall. Like I can't describe how like, terrifying it was, but it was almost like a big relief too. I was like, we don't need to go too hard too soon. Like just start small. Yeah. And we did, and it took off. Yeah.
Okay. So you said a couple of things, and I want to add to the list that we're kind of creating along the way on how to start a business. And you said that you had Excel sheets. And you kind of use that to determine your expenses, your potential pricing, and your profits. Yeah. And I think that's super important because like everyone's thinking like, oh, business plan, what is your USP? What is this? But your process is very much the Excel sheet.
Yeah. I've never made like a formal business plan for anything. Like any of my, like literally my monthly is in a spreadsheet. The dropshipping's in a spreadsheet. And the balloon business originally started in a spreadsheet too, like literally figuring out the tiniest little things. So if I order 10 balloons from somewhere, adding the shipping cost into that and then dividing it by 10 to figure out what actually is that product costing me. And I think this is where a lot of business owners go wrong. They don't go down to that small scale. Like you don't actually break. And yeah, but that is very, very important, figuring out the tiniest little things.
And I think that's such an interesting point because you said they don't go down to that scale. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs hone in on maybe the wrong parts of the business. Yeah. Whereas, the profit margins and the expenses, those are the things that they really need to get granular with. Yeah. So I like that you mentioned that because that's part of your process. And
100%.
Because you've started so many businesses, do you have any other things that are start of your process when you start something?
Not really. Like it literally is just like running around in my head. And then with the balloon business too, like it was something that I sort of got the idea and then I sat on for a bit, but it was driving me mental. So I was like, well, I have to do it. Like if I don't give it a go, I was like, and I guess at the start too, I thought it would just be something that would do a couple of balloons on a weekend. Like Saturday morning for like an hour, might make up some balloons and people come pick them up. Like,
okay. So what is it now?
So within the first probably in the first month of launching, it turned into like 2 8-hour days, Saturday, Sunday, of like installing these massive garlands, like all across Ballarat. I think when I first started, I never considered needing a van. Like it didn't even cross my mind. I just thought we'd be doing helium bunches. So like a van never crossed my mind. And then we started doing these massive big garlands, and I like to try and be as efficient as possible. So what I would like to do, and what my plan was, is to like have everything made up. And I was running this business from home when I first started too. So expenses were low. Like I think that's another thing, is that like you don't need to go. I took calculated risks. I think I'm a risk taker, but I took calculated risks of being like, okay, I wasn't borrowing money from anyone. This was all my money, which sort of makes you more wary of like, okay, what are you spending your money on? And I had savings. So once I got rid of that 10 grand debt, I became like a phenomenal saver, because the money that I was paying off my debt, now that it was all gone, was now savings. So when we realized that we needed a van to make the business as effective as possible, so instead of arriving on site and then having to inflate all these balloons, make up the garland, we could do it all at home and then chuck it in the van, go and install. The install we'd done in like half an hour, and then we could go to the next one. And that was key for the business. Like if we had to go on site and install and make it up, the thought of that like makes me feel sick. Like there's no way I would ever do that. One, two, because like sometimes you get on site and either the people that work there or the people that are having the event are there. So they can be quite, not nosy, but like can get in the way in a sense, and it can just be like honestly so painful. So arriving on site and having everything ready to just like install just makes it so much easier. And then the van, I basically bought it outright and paid 15 grand for it. Like I had the money sitting there, and I was like, well, we need it. It's a business expense. And yeah, bought a van, and I have a van. Yeah, it's so weird.
That's what I'm going to name this podcast.
Yeah, I have a van. Crazy.
She's most crazy. Proud of that, of the van.
It actually was so weird though, because I had never considered needing another vehicle, and all of a sudden I had like, now I've got my car and the van. But yeah, crazy.
But that means you want to keep this balloon business. Like you seem to be like really, really into this one.
I've gone through phases with it where I thought I would sell it, and now I'm like, there's no way I would ever sell it. Like not now anyway, like because it's so profitable. Like, I mean, pre-corona, like COVID has changed everything at the moment, but pre-corona, so every week we would take in bookings from future events. So people would message us saying, hey, I've got my wedding or engagement party or my 30th birthday in 6-8 months, whatever. And they would book in. So we would take a 50% deposit from that. So each week we're taking a 50% deposit for future bookings. And then when that event comes around, you're getting the other 50%. So we were like, it literally, it's crazy. Like one of our biggest weeks, I think we did 7 grand in like a week. And predominantly a lot of, I know, like, that was sort of a different week though, because 4.5 grand of that came from a Thursday where we did like this big install for a local council like event. Like it was insane.
Okay, so let's just go back to your Excel sheet here, because
yeah. This was not in the Excel sheet. The Excel sheet was full of like the helium stuff. So because I first planned on doing helium, this wasn't helium.
So there's no helium in those balloon installs.
Not in the garlands. Not.
It's just like air?
Yeah, with a compressor.
So wait, sorry, I'm just getting into like the whole balloon business now.
You're fine.
Do you see all my gears like turning right now?
I do.
Okay, because usually when you put in helium, they last longer. So you can do them like a couple days in advance. However, No. Okay.
No. So helium, so there's multiple ways you can do it. So helium is affected by heat. So if you just inflate a normal balloon, it will last maybe 24 hours, maybe 12. I'd say more likely 12. But you can also add in this gel stuff called high flow, and that will make it last a bit longer with helium. But with the air-filled ones, they last so much longer. Like we had garlands up here in the office that we had for 6 months that we'd like done an install, gone and collected it because they didn't want it anymore. We just had it sitting in the office. Like air-filled balloons last ages. If they're not pop, like they will last a long time. They go like a matte kind of color, but like, yeah, your profit margins off air-filled balloons is insane.
Yeah, because like a balloon, let's say it's $1 for a balloon.
Yeah.
And then they need 1,000 balloons. I don't know how many balloons they usually need.
Yeah.
but then you also charge for, you know, setting it up, bringing it there.
Yep. All of our materials, staff costs, like, yeah.
Oh yeah, because you have 2 employees.
Yeah. Oh, I do. Well, I have more than 2. I've got one predominant one, and then like a pool of casuals that we sort of call on whenever we need. But I mean, they haven't worked since March because of like pandemic. But yeah.
Okay, crazy. So that means you can charge, because I'm just trying to, I don't know the balloon market.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
Yeah. Well, I am coming out with a balloon business course, which we can get to later, but God. Yeah.
A little plug there. I like it.
Yeah. This is the crazy thing. So I guess this is sort of on the topic, like when COVID hit the balloon business, so I finished up my full-time job last year, December 31st. I got made redundant because we offshored the account to India. And January, Feb, it was fantastic. I was living my best life, working when I wanted to, bringing in money that supported me, covered all the business expenses, still saving, like between lashes and balloon business. And then COVID hit and COVID changed everything. Like, we were really lucky. We've got a few grants. Like, we've been given, substantial amount of grants from the government, but we also, I'm on JobKeeper, so that's sort of keeping everything afloat because the business does support my personal expenses plus all of the business expenses.
Wait, what's JobKeeper?
So in Australia we have this like stimulus package called JobKeeper.
Okay.
They, if you're a business owner, you're eligible for it. That sort of like pays you to be alive, I guess. And then where was I going with this? The balloon business,
profit margins.
No, where was I going? Now I've gone blank. Oh yeah, so December finished up, July. Oh yeah, so then when COVID hit, no one's booking events. One, because like we were in lockdown, but 2, because like no one knows when we're coming out of like we're not in lockdown anymore, but no one knows when it's going to be safe to have big events. So, and it was really disappointing because I went to Bali end of Feb for 2 weeks and I came back, it must be mid-Feb, and I came back early March. And that Corona was around then, but it was like, before we left, it was like a known thing. In Wuhan, it wasn't like a big thing in Australia. Like, it was sort of talked about at airports and stuff, but it wasn't a big thing. We got back in March and we actually both got tested for Corona when we got home because I was like sort of just paranoid about it because it started to get bad. And then my hometown went into lockdown. Well, my state went into lockdown. So during that 6 weeks, we didn't take any orders. Like, we had people messaging, inquiring about pricing and stuff, but I was like, it's not safe to take bookings now anyway. We also had a lot of people messaging saying, hey, like, it's my birthday tomorrow, it's my friend's birthday, can I order a bunch of balloons to her to get delivered? And I said no to that because I was like, I don't know if like I'm a carrier or you're a carrier and handing over balloons, like they're not like flowers. You can't just leave them at someone's front door. Or you shouldn't, because like they could blow away or they could pop. They're like likely to pop. They're not like durable like flowers are. So we closed for those full 6 weeks and then everything was sort of reopening again, but venues aren't having big events anymore. Like, they're not allowed to have 100 people in their spaces still. Like, that's what's happening here. And in my hometown now, we're seeing another outbreak. So I think we've now got 10 cases that's happened in like maybe 10 days. So we're seeing an outbreak here. My home state of Victoria, I'm not allowed in any other states of Australia. Like, Victoria is like Melbourne, which is like an hour and a half, is getting around 450 new cases a day. Like, we're seeing this massive outbreak. And it's crazy. Like, I won't be surprised if my state goes back into like a full lockdown. Like, Melbourne's in lockdown, but my regional town isn't. But we're starting to get cases.
Crazy. So now, like, you're just working on I know you're working on your YouTube channel and you're kind of working on the side on your other projects.
Yeah. So basically with COVID too, like, I sort of realized that these businesses that I had that I thought were great money makers can't survive a pandemic. So I was like, all right, what can I do to like scale my businesses and increase my income stream? So we now do daily deliveries for our hometown. So we've got like a full website, like an e-commerce website, where people can order bunches and we deliver them. So I did some deliveries yesterday. And then I was also like, after all of this social media stuff that I've been posting about, like my story and everything, I've had people reach out being like, hey, how'd you start the balloon business? Like, where'd you get your supplies? How do you make this? Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you that. Like, there's so many things that like I've learned over the last 3 years of business that no one else does. Like, I've just learned it by trial and error and been like, okay, this is the most effective way to do that. And it makes it so much easier. So yeah, I've decided to make like a how to start a balloon decorating business course, which I will definitely sell, hopefully before the end of the year, get that all filmed and ready to go. But just figuring out other ways to sort of scale the business. Another one is like the DIY balloon garland kit. So we've found that during a pandemic doesn't stop birthdays. People are still celebrating birthdays at home with their loved ones. So we've sold a few DIY balloon garland kits online where people all across Australia can buy them and then make them up at home. And I've created like a separate Facebook page that shows people a video of me making it. So it's like really good instructions on like how to make these garlands. But yeah, COVID's probably like a blessing in disguise, I think, for me, like in the nicest way possible, because even in Jan and Feb, when I was working for myself, was working crazy hours again. And I was kind of like, would work really hard, then go on holidays. And that was like seen as my reward, like go on a holiday to Bali type of thing. But COVID's made me realize that I really value and like thrive in downtime. Like, and I'm really creative, and there's things that I want to do, different things that don't have to earn me income, like things that I just want to like relax and do. And that I can scale the businesses to different avenues that I didn't ever have time to do before.
Okay, so you mentioned a few things that we can add to how to start your own business, and that is trusting your gut. So there are many times in your stories where you really just trusted your gut and you went with it. So like with the balloon, that the partnership that you almost had, and just starting and closing all the businesses that you have, right? And then you also said calculated risks. So you do take risks, but you make sure that you
calculate them. 100%.
Definitely. You make sure you scope it out first. You do your due diligence. And then you just mentioned like scaling businesses, build passive incomes, and then also adapting to your audiences and the market changes, right? And I think that has a lot to do with how you've adapted your business, and that's why you're still making money.
I guess the other thing too with the balloon business is one of my initial goals was that I wouldn't work in it, that I could go on holidays or I could go away. And that was something that I definitely learned from my other businesses, especially my monthly one and the lashes and the dropshipping, is I was exchanging my time. Although with the dropshipping one, I wasn't having to pack orders or anything. I was still exchanging my time, and that I had to process the orders like by clicking the button. Like, it was still something that I had to do and maintain the website. With the balloon business, I basically wanted it to be fully automated, that other people could do it for me. And we hit that goal within 6 months. So within 6 months, I had predominantly the two girls that I had that would do all of the messaging, all of the social media, and all of the weekend work, and it still be a profitable business. Like, that was my biggest goal. It was phenomenal. Like, that was a goal that I had for the 12-month mark, and we got there in 6 months because the business grew so much. But I think going into business and figuring out, what do you actually want to do? Like, do you want to be working? Is this something that you're so passionate about that you want to work in it every day and you're not going to get sick of it? And for me, balloons just wasn't that. Like I saw balloons as money making. Like, I saw it as a really profitable business that I could sort of be creative in, but like I didn't have to be there for it to run.
And I think that's part of how you start your business, is that you have to decide that before going in. Do you want to be in it, or do you want to be passively making income from it? Yeah,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I know we're coming around to the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
So I still have like 1,000 questions for you, but we'll wrap it up.
I didn't realize the time. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So you actually have 2 other businesses that we'll briefly touch upon.
Sure.
And then we'll get to some quick questions that I'll just ask you quickly, and then we'll wrap it up. So you also, I really want you to tell everybody about your app story. Okay. So tell us what it is. Okay. Yeah. And then how you got the idea and how you made it work. Okay.
So I got the idea. So I obviously had the lash business since I was 21. And the
How old are you now?
I'm 29.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I first started the lash business, acquiring clients was easy. I'd post on social media and your stuff would get seen so easily by your following, especially if you had like a private group or a page or something, it's more likely to be seen. But over the years, it's so much more pay to play. Like, if you want people to see your stuff, you have to be paying for it. And that's fine, because like I feel like my social media ads for lashes kill it. Like the cost of conversions is like so low for us for acquiring new clients. But I know a lot of businesses struggle with it. And like for me, I'm someone who books appointments last minute. So if I need to get my hair done or like brows done or whatever done, I book it so last minute. And it's a pain in the ass having to ring around so many different places and try and find an available appointment. So I had this, like, mum was over and I was sitting on the couch and I was reading an article. I don't remember what it was. And I don't know, it's kind of like I black out. And then all of a sudden this idea comes, and mum remembers it too. I was like, Mum, I've just had a business idea. And she was like, where did that come from?
Again.
Like, what happened? Literally, it's like, it just happens. And I was like, what if there was an app that one would support business owners by being able to market their available appointments, but on the flip side, for customers being able to input, being like, hey, today's date, a time range that I'm available, the service that I'm after, and it only showed me available appointments. And I was like, why is that not already a thing? And there are other businesses that do similar, but I feel like our layout and some of the key features that we have are completely different to others on the market. And I was like, well, it was the same thing. I was like, I have this idea. If I don't move on it, someone's going to do it anyway. And it was sort of similar. Like, have you ever used Airtasker?
No.
So Airtasker is like an app that like you could put up and say if you had like 20 friends over for dinner and there's a big pile of dishes in your sink and you didn't want to do it, you could put an ad up saying, I want someone to come and wash my dishes. I'll pay them $50. And like, it's sort of like someone could find that and be like, okay, I'll do that job. So it's like, that's what Airtasker is. I'm pretty sure it's global. Like, it's big here. It's sort of just getting big here, but like people earn money on it from freelancing and stuff too. People will post being like, I need it.
Maybe I'm just out of the loop. It's possible.
Yeah. Anyway, I had that idea like years ago. I never did anything. Then Airtasker came out and I was like, all right, well, they've used my idea, but like they never knew it.
Yeah.
So when I had this idea, I was kind of like, all right, fuck, like I need to make an app. Like I need an app for this. Like I didn't want it to be a desktop. I wanted it to be like an app, like 2 apps. It was originally going to be 1 app. And then literally this is in between my full-time job. I'd found out that we were offshoring. So I was in a manager position now. And I had found out from my leadership that the account was going to be closing. Like the Australian team that I manage was going to be replaced by an India team and we would have to train them and basically give them our jobs. And I know a lot of people can be really like up in arms about that and be like so angry and like the whole process. And I get that. But to me, I was like, this is a phenomenal opportunity. Like, and that's what I said to my staff. Like I was managing a team of 31 at this stage. And I was like, be mad, be angry. But like at the end of the day, this is happening. We don't have control over it. What we can control is the way that we do it. And like, this is going to work so well for you all looking for jobs in the future type of thing. But I had this app idea and I was kind of like, what do I do? So I think I had like 3 weeks before my first trip to India. And I rang around to a few Australian app developer companies based predominantly down in Melbourne. And they were so fucking expensive. Like there was this one company that wanted like $7,500 for a 2-week intensive of which I was only in their office for 4 days. And I was like, for 4 days, I'm paying you $7,500 just to have this intensive to see if I have a viable option for them to build an app.
What?
I know. And I was like, $7,500. And this is the weirdest thing. I feel like every time that I've needed like a lump sum of money for something, I've come into it somehow. And so prior to this, I'd also resigned from my full-time job strategically. So I resigned because I knew that I had leverage because my previous manager, once I took on the manager role, my previous manager who was based in my hometown with me, she resigned and left. And she was great, but she was never someone who would go after like a pay rise or something. Whereas I was like, bitch, we need a pay rise. Like, and once she left, I knew that her leadership, which were based in Melbourne and Adelaide, which is like towns in different states, I knew that I had leverage because they needed me to continue running the team, whether they knew it or not. And once she left, I gave it 4 weeks. And then they sort of assumed that I would take the manager role. And I said, no, like, I want to be earning this amount. Like, and it was like $30,000 extra a year. Like, it's a huge jump because I was like, well, I was able to use my lash business as leverage, being like, if I take on this manager role, I'm going to have to sacrifice being able to stay back later to complete stuff and not be able to do lashes. So like, that's where I'm factoring in this money. And they were like, you're never going to get that. Like they literally said, that's not going to happen. Like you can't have it. And I said, that's fine. I'm not taking the manager role. So then they applied, they put a job out for the manager role. I don't know if I'm getting off topic here, but like,
go for it.
All important. They put out an ad for the manager role and they had different people apply for it. I remember they came to me with like the different options of in our office in Ballarat, different people that had applied, not from my team, from like other managers from different accounts. And I remember just laughing, being like, best of luck, like, sure. Anyway, they had 2 Melbourne managers come down because I'd given notice. Like, I resigned because they weren't going to give me the pay rise. And I said, that's fine. If you want to lose a manager, my previous manager, and me being the team leader, the only 2 that know anything about this team, because our other leadership had never taken the time to you sort of churn people out. So if you lost 2 people that had been there for a long time, it could be very detrimental to the account. So I resigned. So then they're on a time pressure because I'd given my 4 weeks notice. I knew that they were going to have to make moves very quickly. So they put that job offer out, and in the interim, they got 2 managers from Melbourne to come down every day and like learn from me and teach them. And that was fine. Like, I was fully content with leaving by this stage because I had my lash business. The balloons were doing really well. And I thought, well, I can leave. Long story short, it got to 3 days before I was due to finish up. So I had my right before I was due to leave, and I had to run them through like my monthly reporting. And I got along with these 2 managers really well, like really, really well. And we were doing, and they didn't know any of the background of like why I was leaving. And my main reason for leaving was that I felt that my age came into it. I think I was like 25 at this point when I'd asked for this massive pay rise. 26. And I felt like they undervalued my like intelligence within the team, and that like my leadership skills, like everything was questioned. But I knew that when my manager had left, they'd offered her heaps of money to stay, yet they never offered me anything. So I was like, you don't care about me. Why would I stay? And that was my senior leadership, not these 2 managers that came down. Anyway, I ran them through all of our like monthly reporting, which is pretty extensive, and it goes back to the client. So like, it's a lot of work. And what was supposed to be like a 2-hour session was like a 5.5-hour session to run them through all of this. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. And again, I only had like 3 days left of my job. And at the end of it, like, I got along with them so well. They were kind of like, why are you leaving? Like, you're so well respected by your team. You're so good at your job, like all this praise. And you know, when you get like so angry and fired up, you get like a croaky voice and you feel like you're about to cry and you're like on the verge, like it was like that. And like, so in the room, it was those 2 managers, female and male, and then like my team leader who's below me in my team, but she was in there because she was staying on. And I just sort of said to them, I was like, in my croaky voice, being like, I'm not leaving because I hate my job or I hate my team. I was like, it's the opposite. I love my job. Like, I really enjoy my job. I know I'm good at it. I've got so much value from like the client. Like, I know they value me. I was like, I'm leaving because I don't feel respected. I was like, you had my manager leave and she was offered money to stay. I haven't been given any of that. And I said that, like, I feel like my age is in question. I feel like you think I'm too young for this role, like that. And I'm like, and now I was like, now you guys understand, like, you guys can see exactly what goes into this role. Because I think they were very much thinking that I was bullshitting the amount of work that it takes to run a team of 31. And
no, like, predominantly,
it's a lot. And like 21 of those staff were casuals. So you're dealing with like uni rosters and like trying to figure out rostering and like managing call volumes and all this sort of shit. Anyway, the next day, and so I get teary and then they get teary. So like both of them are like tearing up and I'm like, what? This meeting has gone like the completely different direction it was supposed to. And I will tie this back into where I was going. But
yeah, because for everyone listening, this is important and you'll see why in a moment.
This is so important.
Yeah.
So the next day, and like we sort of left that meeting, left it, and then they had other meetings in the afternoon. So I didn't really have to deal with them again. And I was like, cool, we can like recover and just not forget about this. I finished up in 2 days. I'm out of here. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
To the point where like I knew my team had like planned a farewell present and like a morning tea and they'd been collecting money and everything. Like I knew all about that. The next day I come into work and Dave, who was the other, like the male manager that had come down from Melbourne, asked me to come into a meeting room. And he was like, look, after yesterday's conversation, he's like, it's so evident that you shouldn't be leaving. Like, you're phenomenal at your job. He's like, I had nothing to do with like the trying to get you to stay or anything. He's like, I was just given this role to come down here, but we had the same manager. So my senior leadership was his senior leadership. And he was like, I've spoken to them and I've given them the run through of everything you said yesterday and how like invested you are and like the skill set that you have and that you shouldn't be leaving and that we shouldn't let it be letting talent like you leave. And I was like I said to him, like, I really appreciate it. And I hate that it's taken to this point now for a manager to actually understand what we do down here, because we're a regional town. We're so separate to Melbourne, like the big city and like what they do down there. But we're such an integral part of like the account. And he was like, look, there's two options. You can walk away in 2 days and forget about this conversation and we can leave it at that. He's like, otherwise, I've teed up a meeting with our senior leadership this afternoon if you want to attend, and we can have a discussion around the requirements that you need for you to feel respected and that you can stay on the account. And I was kind of like this last month had been like probably the last 3 months since I found out my previous manager was leaving was like the biggest emotional roller coaster. Like, and this is the most infuriating part. I used to film myself going to work every day for like probably a 2-week time frame. Once I was about to resign, having like tears in the morning, being like, fuck this place. Like, I just want out. Like, they're not going to offer me money to stay. Like, and I deleted it. It all got deleted. Like, a cloud backup didn't work. Anyway, long story short, we had this meeting, and my manager, like my actual head up manager, like apologized profusely and was like, I'm like really sorry. Like, I didn't see it how you saw it. Like, I understand where you're coming from now. Dave and this other lady have expressed like the amount of work that was put on you once your manager left being the manager and team leader role. And they were like, so what do you want? Like, what do you want out of, like, if you stay, like, what do we have to pay you? And I think at this stage, I think I was on like 65,000 a year. Like, that was my salary or something. And I remember Dave saying to me, he's like, you're not going to get like 200,000. And I was like, I don't want 200,000. Like, there's no way that I would be expecting to get like a jump of like 140,000 in like salary. Like, that's not what I want. And they were like to me, have the weekend to think about it, but Monday morning, send us through an email with everything you want. Because it wasn't just money for me. I said to them, like, I want backing to make our team more stable, because we were predominantly casual based. If we had 3 casuals resign that could literally message me overnight and say, I'm out, I had no stability within the team. So I was like, I want your backing on like getting additional roles created, like had like a list of all these things. Anyway, I sent off an email, highballed the price that I want, which was like, I think I said 99,000 as like my annual salary, which was like literally a $33,000 jump. And they approved it, and it got approved. And on the Monday morning when I had the meeting and they said, yep, so we're going to go ahead with it, I almost died, because I was like, I've highballed this and I said to them, like, when we had that initial meeting, I was like, I'm not negotiating. I was like, I'm not doing this negotiating bullshit. Like, this should have happened 4 weeks ago before any of this crap had to happen. Like, this is on you. Like, if I don't get what I want, that's perfectly fine. I respect that. That's fine. But I'm out. Like, I'm leaving in 2 days. So I knew that they had the time pressure of me leaving, that things had to happen fast. So then I stayed. So then I came into all of this more money coming into my account. And then I had this idea for the app. And when we were found out that we were offshoring, I was given a retention of $10,000 to stay on the account. It was just like a lump sum payment to stay on the account and help like do the transition. I got that twice, actually. I got that
just casually.
I got that
$20K.
Literally, but that's exactly what I mean. Like me, it was bizarre, because although that money was given to me, then I was building an app, and I was like, where am I coming up with the money for that? But I was like, perfect. Leaving my full-time job, who are giving me $10,000, app team that's in the location where my job's sending me, there's the money for the app. So
I think at this point we have to add to the list, like, trust the process.
Trust the process. And like the timing of things, like everything happens for a reason.
So you were developing this app. You get shipped off to India to help the team, the new outsourcing team, and you have $10,000 in the bank account. And then tell us what happens. My favorite part of the story. Yeah.
So obviously, like, my full-time job sent me to India. So it required me to go to India. And once I had looked around in Melbourne and found that app development in Melbourne was like crazy expensive, I was like, how am I going to do this? And it was Mum who was like, you're going to India. You're going to a city that's really techie, like really, it's like the Silicon Valley of India, which is Bangalore. Why don't you look for app development there? And I was kind of like, why didn't I think about it? And because of the time difference in India too, so they are 5.5 hours behind us. So when we were over there, we were waking up super early and then finishing by midday. So while the rest of my team was sitting around a pool drinking cocktails at the Hilton, I was like, I'm out of here, and I'd go into an app office. And I went to India, I think 4 times over 12 months. And I think the biggest stint I did was like 4 weeks in India. But the first couple, like the first time I reached out, it was really important to me that I wanted to meet the team. I didn't want it to just be all online. I wanted face-to-face, sit down. I had all of these drawings in a book of like what I wanted the app to look like and the features and functions of it. And I had some phone, like WhatsApp calls with different companies and like the managers. And then there was one that really stood out, just like really well-spoken, could show me like a lot of the previous work that they'd done. And yeah, I went and met them, and I still remember being in the taxi and like, have you ever been to India?
No.
It's wild, like absolutely wild. Like it's like Bali on steroids. And I remember being in this taxi being like, I don't know where I'm going, who I'm meeting. Like it was just like the weirdest feeling in this city. And Bangalore's not touristy, so it's not a place that tourists really go. So being a white female, I stand out like something shocking.
Yeah.
And so you do get a lot of looks and stuff. But eventually I found the place that I needed to go, met with the team, and I was like, let's do this. So that was October 2018 when it all started. That was my first trip to India back then. And then, yeah.
All 4 times that you went, was it from the team?
Yeah, all from the team. For IBM.
Okay. Yeah. It was all paid for from the full-time job.
Yeah.
And now we're like a year. Oh my gosh, we're almost 2 years.
Well, yeah, since I started. So the apps didn't start building until probably 2019. And then the timeline of things could get kind of confusing. So we offshored some of our work at the end of 2018 without knowing that the entire account was going. I didn't even know. And then it got to mid 2019 and they announced the entire account was going. So then we were going back to India. So I first met with the team when we were originally going, and then found out we were going again. And I was like, perfect, because we were nearing the like sort of the tough stuff of like doing all the development, like, and figuring out the designs, like completing the designs and stuff. So it was great because I could go back over there, meet with them, sign off on things, and they could start the development and I didn't have to be there. And yeah, so it's been like over 2 years since I've had the idea. And only really now we feel finalizing things. Like I think if I had gone with an Australian company, we would have been finished probably months ago. But this is where I think timing is really important. Like, why would I, if I had have launched when I planned, which was literally February of this year, launching before a pandemic, like it would have been a horrible time to launch. Yeah. Even now is kind of, especially in my hometown, really probably not the right time to launch because like we're teetering on going into another lockdown. So it's like pointless. But yeah, that's kind of the app story.
Which I love it. I love that you took advantage of your time there because your company sent you there, and then you're like, peace, I'm going to go create an app.
It was crazy because too, like I'm someone that when I'm here in Australia, when I was working full time, I had my full time job, the lash business and balloon. So I was working my normal days, Monday to Friday, doing the business, doing the full time job. Then I do after hours lashes for that, and then weekends I was doing balloon. So I was flat out. So going to India, although I was going for work for like my full time job, it was kind of like a holiday because I could have all this downtime. And then in classic Celia form, I had like transformed my like cool half days to then being like double the amount of work I was doing because I was spending half of it in an app office. Like it was crazy. It's so crazy. And I can't wait for like the app to launch and to be able to talk more about the whole process of it because I think the story behind it is so interesting.
Then you'll have to come back and tell us about it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So then the last business that you kind of started by accident is business coaching. And this happened because you just posted your story all over Facebook, which is how I actually found you. And I approached you because I saw how amazing all your projects were. Yeah. And so people just started reaching out and asked for help.
Yeah. So
how are you approaching this?
So I've always sort of done business coaching, but I've never really thought of it as business coaching. It's just sort of helping out friends and family start a business. And I think I severely underestimate the amount of knowledge I have across a wide range of like systems and different platforms to like market your business or just like how to run a business effectively. And then I did those posts in the groups. I posted in multiple like female entrepreneurial groups on Facebook, and it just went off to the point where I had like 75 messages in my like message requests of people being like, hey, I've got this idea. I don't know what to do. Can I have some more information? And by this stage, I don't think, I must have started YouTube by then, because then I could link people and be like, hey, if you want more information on like the lash business, this is how I started it, type of thing. So I sort of used those posts, what I originally thought as like a funnel for like my YouTube growth, has then turned into people being like, no, but like I actually want your help. So I created like a separate Facebook page, and there's probably like 40 people in that. And I've had, I haven't had heaps of business coaching. I think I've had maybe 6 different sessions with different people for business coaching. And probably 3 of them have been paid ones. But now I'm kind of like, once I have because I was really nervous when I was having these business coaching sessions with random people. I was kind of like, I did like a few free ones, and then I was like, no, like I'm actually helping these people. Like this one lady from like Sydney reached out, and I had a session with her, and after it she messaged me being like, you've completely inspired me to like do everything that I've ever wanted to do. And I was like, the thing that really frustrates me with business coaches is a lot of business coaches have never run a business before other than their coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole like female business coach thing online at the moment where like that I don't know if it's always been there, I've just never realized it, but the whole like you can make $10,000 a month from business coaching, and I'm like, but none of you have had a business before. Like what information do you have that you can tell people other than like mindset stuff and like encouraging?
Yeah.
Whereas I think I provide a lot of value being like, hey, what about this idea? Why don't you go and try this? Or why don't you put that into an ebook and then sell it online as like passive income? Like just different ideas across that. So yeah, that's something that I definitely will make time for, but it's not like a primary source of income for me.
I love it though. And for everyone listening, those are her 6 businesses that she started.
Yeah.
We went through 11 steps on how to start your business. Mm-hmm. And so just before we leave, I just want to ask you some quick questions.
Sure.
Okay, so in terms of time management, people are hearing this and they're thinking, how the hell is Celia starting so many businesses? And a lot of them overlap, especially with your full-time job. How do you manage all your time, number one, and then stay motivated to keep working on so many projects?
Yeah, I think I'd be lying if I said I wasn't motivated by money. Like, I think anyone that says they do business just because they love it is lying. Like, if you did that and you weren't making money, you probably wouldn't be doing it. So I was definitely motivated by having money, not for expensive things, just for I want to have a lifestyle, and that's something that I'm definitely working on now, is have a lifestyle that I'm not exchanging my time for money. I want money to come in around the clock, whether I'm sleeping, holidaying, or dead. Like, I want my money to come in. And I think the time management type of thing, like I knew with the lashes, I knew it was manageable, like being able to work full time and then do lashes after hours. I knew it would be a stretch, but I got to a point where lashes was really therapeutic and relaxing. So I've never hated doing lashes. I find it really relaxing. When I had the dropshipping stuff, it could all be done while I was sitting at my full-time job. And it didn't have that like it did have customer service to it, but it wasn't like a customer service pressure of people knowing who I was or needing anything. With the balloon business, I knew that it was predominantly weekend work and I had weekends free. So I was like, perfect, I can not cancel some lashes, but like organize my time better, that I can do lashes in the morning, balloons in the afternoon. And then it got to the point where I was just doing balloons on the weekend. And then I knew my goal going into the balloon business was to have staff to run it. So I didn't need to be exchanging all of my time for that. So again, it's sort of like the calculated risk, weighing up all of the options, like what do I need to spend time and money on to sort of get this business where it needs to be.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, because then I kind of want to follow up and say, do you schedule downtime like for breaks?
Yeah, I kind of do, especially now. Definitely when I finished my full-time job and it got to January and February, I was working long hours in all of my stuff. And I was kind of like, wait, this isn't what you want to be doing. You want to have more downtime. So yeah, usually I'll have a couple of days where I will, like lashes, I usually do from Tuesdays through to Friday, and not all day, like I'll sort of block them in like time blocks. And then I have downtime around that. So yeah, managing my time definitely is completely different now. And that's when all those people started messaging me about the business coaching thing, I just responded and I was like, look, I'm just letting you know, like, I'm really precious with my time. So like, I'm happy to answer a few questions on Facebook Messenger, but if you want my time, you can buy it with business coaching. So yeah.
And people were like, yeah, sure. We need you.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, people were like, okay, well, how much is it, and when can we do it? So yeah,
crazy. I love it.
Crazy.
Okay, next quick question. What is your maybe one piece of advice for people starting a business? And what do you think is the one thing holding people back from just jumping into it like you do?
I think the biggest thing stopping people from just doing it is the fear of everyone else's opinions. Like even for me, for YouTube, like, I've always wanted to do YouTube, and I've spoken openly to so many people being like, I've always wanted to do it. My issue was time. And when my process with YouTube was, I wanted to have multiple videos up before I mentioned it to anyone on my social media. And it was strategic because I knew that people would be interested, being like, wait, Celia's doing YouTube? And like, they would watch multiple of my videos to up my watch time. But to a lot of people that I've spoken about since I came out with my YouTube, they're like, oh, I've always wanted to do it. And I'm like, well, what stops you? And everyone that said that is like their fear of like being judged by other people, or like their friends are going to see it, or like whatever. And I'm like, why does it matter though? Like, why would you stop doing something you've always wanted to do because someone else, like really, if, I don't know, I put myself in other people's shoes, and I'm like, if I went to someone and said, oh, I'm doing this, my response would be like, cool, like, that's great. It doesn't affect me. Like, what I'm doing doesn't affect anyone else, and what they're doing, everyone's too busy to really give a shit. And like, if they really do give a shit and put you down for it, are they really the people you want in your life? No.
Exactly. And tip number 1 from how to start a business from our conversation is not care about what it is. So
literally, don't care.
Look,
don't
full
care
circle. We've come full circle. That's step number 1. And you told us that right from the beginning. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question is, this podcast is called the No Formula Podcast because there is no formula to success. Everyone has their own formula. What do you think is your formula that got you to where you are today?
Just giving it a go, just trying. And just, I think that's it. Like, I have no business background whatsoever. Like, when I finished school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go into a full-time job, didn't want to go to uni. I did a resort management water recreation course, which had I know. There's so many little things that pop up. But it was one of the big components in the second year was like, create a mock business, and you had to like figure out exactly how you would start a business. And I thought nothing of it at the time. And then when I started my lash business, I referred back to it to be like, wait, I have to register for an ABN. How do I do that? Like, how do I register business name? Like, all of that. So, but other than that, I have no formal business training. I just have ideas that I think, you know what, that could work, and run with it. So
I really hope you change your YouTube channel. Like, you know, when you click on your profile, it says Celia Gercovich. I said that right. And then the banner, it just says, give it a go.
Give it a go. Yeah, maybe I should. Because that's it. Like, I literally, like, I don't have any training. I don't have any, like, I don't know. I've just sort of been like, okay, well, if I start a business, this is what I'm going to need. This is what I need to do. Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Give it a go. Everyone give it a go. If you have an idea.
Yeah. Give it a go. Give it a go. Right. Yeah. Put it into an Excel spreadsheet. If it's profitable, give it a go. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Celia, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge in.
Thank you for having me.
Almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you so much. No, not sorry at all. But if anyone wants any more information, please go visit Celia's YouTube channel. She has all the stories in detail and even shows you her Excel sheets.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at all of them.
Yeah.
Hours and
it's crazy that I have that, because that was all on for like my work computer. So when I left, I moved everything onto OneDrive and I just kept it all. So I didn't even know I had them. Like, I was surprised.
Amazing though, because then you got to see all the profit margins and everything. So very, very cool. So thank you so much. And we're definitely going to keep in touch, because you're probably going to start another 7 businesses. Yeah. So
probably.
I want to stay in the loop. Okay.
Perfect.
So, thanks.
Thanks. Bye.